Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Business Boost. I'm well informed that we're on the final show in the 10 Business Boost. So hopefully everyone's had a brilliant time gathering lots of tips and information on how to improve and boost their business. So hopefully I've got a few people on the call tonight that are interested in sort of understanding your financial responsibility. So by way of introduction, my name's Jay Burke. I'm an independent consultant and an executive regional vice president with Arbonne. And by way of full disclosure, I am also a financial advisor. So this is a topic that's pretty close to my heart and something that I'm sort of extremely passionate about. And it was sort of this topic, or the reason for me first being interested in Arbonne when it was introduced to me by my wife, an executive national vice president, Burke, because I could see the business potential. I could see what potential existed to actually run this as a well-run business. So hopefully everyone gets a lot out of tonight. I'm stationed in here at work. I was just talking to Denise before we went live. I didn't want any naked children coming in and interrupting the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to share my slides and we'll get underway. So just bear with me for 1 second. All right. So maybe, again, just by way of full disclosure, it is important when I'm presenting tonight for you to understand a couple of things. The first one being that I am a financial advisor, and there is the potential for a perceived or real conflict of interest here. Obviously, I have a significant amount of understanding of financial planning and small business, but I want you to really be clear that nothing that I say tonight should be considered advice. So really, really important that everything we talk about tonight, you look at and you go and seek your own independent advice specific to your own circumstances. Hopefully I've got a few type A personality people like me on the call that are just frothing at the bit to understand a bit more about their financial situation. So here we go. So business basics. So we do hear and speak of treating Arbonne like a business, but for a lot of independent consultants, Arbonne may be their first exposure to owning and operating their own business. And you may not know what treating it like a business actually means. So the unfortunate reality is that the majority of small businesses fail, and many that survive never actually make a profit. So getting the business basics right and understanding your financial responsibilities is really critical to helping you build a sustainable and successful business, whatever that business is. A lot of what causes small businesses to fail can easily be addressed before coming an issue by taking care of some of these business basics. Once they're habitual, these will allow you to sort of grow your business seamlessly into great business habits and also sustain growth. So many of these business basics are, by sort of Arbonne consultant standards, boring and mundane, which is why it's important to master these early on in your business so they don't become a distraction for the more exciting income producing and personal development activities that are required as your business actually grows. Now, the following isn't an exhaustive list of all your financial responsibilities that you need to master, but it's a starting point for you to establish and duplicate, importantly, good business practices in your own and your team's consultancies. So as Arbonne independent consultants, we want to be known industry-wide for our professionalism, our ethics, our business acumen, and as successful small business owners. And from day one of me being involved in Arbonne, I think I could see that this would be our point of difference. It could be one of our major point of difference in actually developing very savvy small business owners that the rest of the industry would actually look to and want to be like. So again, I'm going to say this many times throughout the presentation. It's important to note that everything that I speak about is not a personal recommendation, but rather a guide, and we encourage all consultants to seek their own professional advice specific to their own circumstances. So I'm going to jump onto our first slide. It's a very exciting topic. The first one is policies and procedures. It's amazing. Listen, I was excited when I got an opportunity to read the policies and procedures for the first time, but maybe that was just me. But you really need to read and understand the policies and procedures document. And it is heavy reading, but they are the guidelines that you've agreed to as an independent consultant and you've agreed to abide by in running and building your business. So it's your responsibility to understand these policies, ask questions about what you don't know. Now, Best there's a couple of really good tools that you can sort of tap into with the business ethics standards team. So at best.arbonne.com, and both myself and Best strongly recommend that you review their training material on Source under the Best tile. Best also have an official Facebook page, so make sure you follow that. And because policies and procedures can historically be a pretty boring and dry read, the Facebook page sort of helps break down the policies into simple terms for the field. So make sure that you jump on and download the policies and procedures document and read it. Number 2. So the second one is something that really resonates with me from a small business point of view, resonates with me from a financial planning point of view, and is very applicable to consultants. So one of the things that I know is that understanding your own personal cash flow and cost of living, your budget, is exceptionally important as your income from Arbonne grows. And one of the things I didn't mention at the start is they're going to make a really big assumption here and assume that everyone on the call is desperately keen to be a national vice president, have a business that generates millions of QV, generates thousands of dollars. We want to be in a position where we actually need to understand our income and our expenses. So it's exceptionally important that we keep a track of this as your income grows. So it is very, very easy to grow into an income, but it's very difficult to grow out of expenses. So the earlier you can get a handle on this, the more informed you will be, and the better and more savvy financial decisions you'll be able to make as your business grows, which is what we're all after. Now, most people have no idea of their own income and expenses, and therefore any additional income that they might get from Arbonne just gets absorbed without creating any sort of discernible difference to their finances and their lifestyle. So if you can have an awareness of your sort of household income and expenses, you can then make an informed and measured decision about how much income your Arbonne business needs to generate to support your desired lifestyle and financial situation. And it really is one of the easiest ways to just get a handle on it is to do a budget. And there's plenty online. Just Google budget and find one that you can get an estimate of your current expenses. Next is your bank account. So I think one of the simplest ways to ensure that your Arbonne income does not get unintentionally absorbed and lost in your personal expenditure, which does happen, is to separate your Arbonne income and expenses. So business income and expenses separate from your personal income and expenses. And do that from day one. And again, a lot of people will question maybe why we need to do that, even if your initial income might not be that great. Trust me, get into good habits early with these things and they'll take care of themselves in the future. So this doesn't mean that you can't or won't use your Arbonne income for personal expenses. Obviously, some of us will need that additional income. It just ensures that you actually have to make a conscious decision of moving money out of your business. It's suggested that you have one account that's specifically designed to receive your Arbonne commissions and pay any Arbonne-related expenses. And you have a second account that's used specifically for tax provision. So that's PAYG tax and GST, which I'll talk about a little bit later, into which you can transfer a percentage of your monthly commission to ensure that you always have funds come tax time to pay any tax liability. Again, I don't want to bore everyone with taxation information, but one of the biggest mistakes small business owners make, including Arbonne consultants when their income grows, is not provisioning for tax. This is not a problem that you actually want to have, so take care of it early. So a rule of thumb for tax provisioning is and this will vary depending upon your circumstances, as I said earlier, is that you move 30% of your commission over into a tax account. Again, how much you actually move will vary greatly on your own personal circumstances and how you run your business, whether you're a sole trader, a company, a partnership, a trust, what your business expenses are, your employment, investment income, etc. The other thing to note that if you are registered for GST, which I'll talk to in a little bit, you should also direct any GST that you collect from Arbonne to your tax account. Again, why? So you don't spend it personally and then have to try and find it later. So simply put, if you keep your Arbonne income separate and transfer an amount, suggestion is 30% of your commission plus GST, any GST collected into that tax account at the end of each month. It'll help ensure you have adequate funds at tax time without having to worry that your Arbonne income has been absorbed into your personal expenses and that you spent your tax money. It's not a good place to be. All right, next one, direct crediting commissions. Hopefully this is a bit of a no-brainer. When I began as a consultant, I think I was still, for a while there, I was still receiving a check as a commission via check. And it was a manual process to actually complete a form to request for direct credit. Really simple now. I think as you join as a consultant, you have an option of selecting your bank account details. If you haven't done that, again, just save your time. You shouldn't be spending time going down to the bank to deposit checks. Jump on the source, find the direct deposit guide, set up your direct deposit for your commissions to go into your business bank account. So pretty simple. The next one, now I've got a little bit to cover off on here. This might be news to some people. Some people maybe already have their house in order. If that's the case, it's great. Just tick it off and say, I've done that, and give yourself a pat on the back. But professional indemnity cover, so as your business grows, or public liability cover, as your business grows, you become exposed to greater business risk. This is just the reality. The reality is we live in a very sort of litigious society, and protecting yourself and your business from product and public liability is an absolute necessity, particularly as your income grows. So Arbonne do have their own comprehensive sort of product and liability insurance. So should someone suffer injury or loss as a result of using Arbonne products, for this reason, it is essential that any product experience you provide anyone, a prospect, a client, whoever it may be, follow strictly the product guidelines and instructions of use. And separate to the product liability, you know that Arbonne is a fully paid member of the Direct Selling Association of Australia. The Direct Selling Association of Australia, the DSA, has an arrangement with an insurance broker, so Fenton Green Insurance Brokers, to provide Arbonne and the industry, industry-wide online public liability insurance for all consultants and distributors, not only Arbonne, but everyone else that's a member of the DSA. So it is really important. So public liability insurance is important to protect any consultant against economic loss in the event that an injury or accident is caused to a customer or client or their property or a member of the public while they're conducting their direct selling business. So let me simplify this. This is what they, in insurance terms, called slip and trip cover. You're having an event, someone hurts themselves at an event run by you, whether it be at your home, at a location that you've organised. Really important that you actually have this cover. Now, you can apply online for this cover, and I think it starts for as little as $60 per annum for consultants via directselling.org.au. So just go to the Direct Selling Association of Australia. My suggestion is that every single consultant should have their own public liability insurance. It's critical for protecting yourself. Now, a couple of notes from Best. This is, I'm going to go verbatim from what Best has asked me to say. So please note that every Arbonne consultant is an independent contractor, not an employee of Arbonne. Hopefully you know that. Each Arbonne independent consultant must provide all insurance coverage required or desired by a consultant with respect to his or her business, so including without limitation to medical, hospital insurance, car insurance, liability insurance, etc. So Arbonne carries their own product liability insurance with an A-rated insurance carrier. sort of in the event, unlikely event that a product liability claim was ever to arise. So Arbonne's policy covers personal injuries that are caused by its products. Therefore, the policy will provide coverage if a consumer is injured by an Arbonne product, regardless of whether the product was sold to a client by a consultant or it was direct shipped from the company. So Arbonne's policy, take note, will not cover an injury if the product or its packaging has been tampered with. It's therefore important that consultants never sell opened product to a client. So hopefully that's not news to people either. So all products must be sold in their original unaltered packaging. Secondly, Arbonne's policies will not cover injuries that result from unapproved product claims. Whew, it's a mouthful. We always recommend that independent consultants obtain general liability insurance for business activities, which is exactly what I've spoken about. And you should refer to the DSA website that I spoke of before. So I know that's pretty deep, but it's a really, really simple fix, something that you could log in online tonight, go to the DSA website and get yourself your cover. It's a pretty important thing to do. All right, the next one, business entity registrations. So although most people start life as a consultant or as a sole trader when they begin as a consultant, you do actually have the option of operating your Arbonne business under any legal tax entity, business entity, as allowed under Australian law and the agreement with Arbonne. The reasons that you might, or for operating as a sole trader, a partnership, a company, a trust, can be many and varied, and there might be relating to your own tax circumstances. It might be asset protection because you've got other small businesses or other businesses. It might be any of those reasons. And really, you should only contemplate your business entity, how you're going to run, after seeking legal and professional advice. But it's important to know that you do have the option to change how you actually run your business in what entity. So regardless of how you choose to operate your consultancy, every independent consultant must complete this form, the one on the screen. So a business entity registration form and an Arbonne independent consultant application and agreement to advise Arbonne how you intend to operate. So this form that you see on the screen needs to be accompanied by a proof of entity, which I'll explain in a minute, and an ABN, as well as a letter of intent. And I'll explain a little bit what those are. So just as a word of caution, so hopefully most of you on the call that have been around for a while have completed your business entity registration forms as done and not an issue. For those of you that haven't, just as a word of warning, if you don't submit the business entity registration form to Arbonne, they're actually required to withhold tax at top marginal tax rate from your commission. So that's 45% in Australia. Once your income, your commission exceeds around $1,500 a month, or the tax-free threshold in Australia. So it's really important that you submit this form, because otherwise you'll have to wait until tax time to claim half of your commissions back. So it's happened before. It's happened to some of my consultants before, where they haven't submitted the form. Arbonne sent some of their commission to the tax office, and they've had to wait 12 months to actually get that income back. So it's a really, really easy fix, one that can be easily avoided. Just make sure you complete this form and submit it as soon as possible. The form, the business entity registration form, needs to be accompanied by an ABN. Now, an ABN is required for completion. So the ABN, which you've got here, is required to complete your business entity registration form, and your ABN will be specific to whatever entity you choose to operate your business through. So whether you're a sole trader, whether you're a company, whether you're a partnership, you'll have an ABN specific to that. If you do have an existing ABN, so this question gets asked a lot, if you do have an existing ABN or an entity like a company or a trust that you want to operate your Arbonne business through, potentially you can, but you need to seek advice as to the appropriateness of this. And it's at the complete discretion of Arbonne whether they actually approve your request to run through an existing business. The main reason they would not would be that there's a conflict of interest, that you have a business that's in similar way, shape or form to your Arbonne business, and there's a conflict. The next, obviously, you can obtain an ABN by jumping online. You can go and speak to your accountant. That's probably the best place to start, is go and speak with your accountant personally. The next one, proof of entity. So once you have decided how you're going to run your Arbonne business, you've completed your business entity registration form, you need to send a few things to Arbonne. One of them is a proof of entity. So the proof of how you're actually going to run your Arbonne business. So basically, this is just a letter from the tax office that you need to submit that says this is your company or your trust or your sole trader, and this is the ABN. So it's pretty straightforward, but you won't have this until you actually apply for an ABN. Next point is the letter of intent. So a letter of intent is a letter signed by all related parties. So if it's you as a sole trader, if you've joined as a partnership with someone else, if you have a trust where there's 3 people involved, all people have to sign this form. If your chosen entity, as I said before, already exists, so you want to run your Arbonne business through an existing entity, you'll need to state the nature of that business, as I said before, to ensure that it's not in conflict with your Arbonne business. But again, it's pretty much just a letter saying, this is me, this is how I want to run my business, this is my ABN, Arbonne, can you please consider this? Pretty straightforward and something you should all be doing as soon as possible. Next, on to record keeping. So we live in the 21st century, and although I've got a bit of paper in front of me as I talk through my notes, I'd encourage everyone to consider the use of technology and I suppose electronic means to actually record a lot of the stuff that you need to in running your own business. So as your business grows, your need for appropriate record keeping really is a must. So it's very easy as you get busier to get swallowed up in paperwork, prospect lists, training, personal development notes, receipts, invoices, expenses, etc. So the earlier in your business you can develop a system for recording and retrieving information, the less time this will consume in the future. So some will prefer to reconcile items in hard copy, whilst others will use technology to assist. A number of independent consultants, including myself, have found electronic note-taking apps like Evernote, which is the one on the screen, very, very helpful. So Evernote, as an example, allows you to voice record, it allows you to scan documents, receipts, etc. for bookkeeping, create prospect lists and notes. The only thing I'd point out, and this was reinforced by Best, is just make sure that you don't have any sort of private and confidential information stored in any of those places. So make sure you don't have any personal or private information that shouldn't be stored of your consultants or clients. All right, next one, bookkeeping. So financial record keeping is one of the most important of the record keeping exercises you'll need to master, particularly as your income grows, to ensure seamless and cost efficient completion of things like tax returns each year, and also BASs when it's time to actually do your BASs. And you're earning over a certain threshold, which is the GST threshold. So initially, I think for cost effectiveness, you may choose to do your own bookkeeping. That's just what people do. Well, some people won't do any bookkeeping, but some will choose to do it themselves. And that's fine. But it is, I think by tracking your own, you can track your own business income and expenses with things like spreadsheets, or you may choose to outsource your bookkeeping as your business grows to allow you to spend more time on income producing activities. Now, I've just put up here an example of there's many, but sort of cloud-based bookkeeping programs that you can explore as your business grows to make sure that that's done very seamlessly. And again, I've made the assumption right from the beginning here that every single person on the call is if they're not already, is an MVP to be and is going to have significant income running through their business. So all of these things are absolutely musts. Get them right now and they'll take care of themselves in the future. So again, my point here, if in doubt, it's important to seek professional advice about the method of bookkeeping that's going to be best or most suitable for you, and importantly, specifically to your circumstances, because you will be very different to the next person. All right, next one, GST. So although an ABN, as I mentioned before, is required to it's required to be submitted when lodging your business entity registration. GST registration of your entity, whatever it is, a sole trader, a company, or a trust, it's not compulsory until your business turnover exceeds the GST threshold in Australia. And I apologise if we've got any Kiwis on the call, until it exceeds the GST threshold of $75,000. So once you've registered for GST, you'll be required to complete a BAS, so a business activity statement, based upon the GST that you collect and also that you've paid. There's another reason why, if you're getting a little bit bamboozled now, it's another reason why establishing good bookkeeping habits early before your GST registered is really, really important. So once you're GST registered, you're actually entitled to an additional 10% in your commission statement on top of what you would normally get. So Arbonne have let me call it a unique, or another way of saying would be a clunky system for collecting GST. Really, this is just a fact of Australia's tax system, not necessarily aligning perfectly with Arbonne's system. But this system for collecting GST on your income has to be actually done manually using this attached form. So once you've exceeded $75,000 turnover in your Arbonne business and you are GST registered, you will need to, every month, every quarter, manually request an additional 10% on top of your commission from Arbonne. Important to note that this is not your money. This is money you're actually holding on behalf of the taxman that you'll ultimately then remit. So right back to where I spoke about having separate bank accounts, this GST money, my suggestion would be that it goes to your tax account until you complete your BAS and submit any money off to the taxman that you need to. So most consultants will claim their GST from Arbonne in line with when they do their quarterly BAS. Although it's not compulsory, I think it's best done sort of after seeking advice from your own accountant. Again, I've said that about 8,000 times. Seek advice from your accountant about when best to claim your commissions. I personally do it every quarter. Okay, and that form is available on the source. So if you search the tax invoice form on the source, you'll find that. All right, on to a little bit more exciting topics, the Mercedes-Benz cash bonus. So this is everyone's favourite, and we talk about it a lot. It is a very sought-after bonus for Arbonne independent consultants at the vice president level. A couple of words of caution. I suppose the details of the bonus can be misunderstood by consultants. So it really is your responsibility to understand what is required of you to not only earn, but maintain the bonus, and also the implications of purchasing a vehicle. Again, because this can be misunderstood, and I have seen it misunderstood. So in the spirit of making sure that we're savvy business owners, it's important that we do get this. So ultimately, the car is your responsibility alone, and Arbonne takes no responsibility for your choice of white Mercedes. This G-Class that's on the screen at the moment, I think it's worth about $250,000. But the responsibility of choice for the Mercedes-Benz and the affordability of it is yours alone. So Arbonne does not provide finance for your vehicle. They simply pay you the bonus based upon your success line sales volume each month. So you can find details of the cash bonus at Arbonne. So obviously look under incentives, Arbonne. You should have a pretty good appreciation of that. If you don't, then jump on, have a look on the source. So remember that in order to be eligible to earn the Mercedes-Benz cash bonus at regional and national vice president level, you must be a paid as regional or national vice president or in title maintenance, and you must provide Arbonne with documentation that you've purchased or leased a white Mercedes-Benz. So you actually have to provide lease, insurance documents, and also a photo of the Arbonne decal, which is the little Arbonne symbol attached to your car, to continue to actually receive the bonus. So this is not said to dampen anyone's excitement in completing region, far from it, or leasing a brand new white Mercedes. what I'd like to do is just encourage everyone to think responsibly about what they personally can afford and what will suit their own individual needs. So obviously no one intends not to maintain their region or nation, but the reality is that it does happen, and it has happened, and it has the potential to leave someone making repayments on a vehicle that they no longer receive a cash bonus contribution towards. So again, financial responsibility. The last thing we want to do is, again, when we're trying to show that we are responsible and savvy business owners, is to have something like that cause an issue. So on the vehicle finance. So how you choose to fund your white Mercedes, whether you pay cash for it, whether you lease it, whether you hire purchase it, it's totally up to you and based upon your own sort of financial circumstances, your own business entity, your GST status, and generally the advice from your financial advisor and your accountant. So again, seek advice specific to your circumstances in relation to that. So if you intend to finance your vehicle as opposed to paying cash for it, it's important to realize that the finance may be subject to you providing evidence of income, which can be challenging for a new consultant, someone that's actually hasn't had long in business. So if you don't have, and again, just a little tip on applying for finance, if you don't have substantial history of earnings, and generally as self-employed people, finance companies like you to have a couple of years of history, it can actually be really difficult to actually get finance for a car. So for this reason, I would encourage you to think well in advance, hopefully as soon as you become a consultant, about what vehicle you want, its cost, how you intend to fund it, and then seek professional advice specific to your circumstances to ensure that you can actually get finance. Nothing worse than actually getting to the point of the car. You've told people what you're getting only to find out that you can't afford it or you can't get the money to actually get the car. So there is plenty of online calculators available for you to start to work through what you can afford, what the repayments might be. But again, go and seek independent advice specific to your own circumstances and have a bit of a look around online. Next question or next point, the willable business. Again, one of my favorites. One of the, I suppose, benefits of building an Arbonne business is the ability for consultants at the paid as rank of area manager or above to will their Arbonne business as per the Arbonne agreement in the event of, or hopefully in the event of death. So the concept of building a consultancy that can be willed to an independent consultant to children and family is exceptional. It's an exceptional benefit that Arbonne provide for all of its consultants. And we actually do, because it's in the presentation, we all speak about it regularly at DAs, one-on-ones, but I would argue that very few consultants actually know exactly what is required of them to ensure a seamless transition, touch wood, of business from one to another in the event of death. So the first thing to understand is, write this down, is section 2.61, 2.6.1 of the policies and procedures that I told you to read right at the start. And this explains the sort of succession of your consultancy to your chosen beneficiaries. And it explains that your succession of your business is at the complete discretion of Arbonne. So unfortunately, this is news to a lot of people who maybe wrongly assume that in the event of their death, their consulting just simply passes to their kids and their spouse, no questions asked. So the succession arrangements of your business succeeding to your kids, and I know these are things that we'd probably prefer not to talk about, but most of these things are generally not a problem until they're a problem. So succession arrangements can be further complicated by beneficiaries being minors, which I have. I've got 4 kids under 11. Blended family situations. So if you've got a blending of families, your business entity, so how you run your business, sole trader versus a company, very different from an estate planning point of view. And also individuals that you maybe would like to receive your consultancy, not actually meeting Arbonne's requirements to be a consultant. So what can you do? Number one, you can think very seriously now, even though it might be difficult, about who you want to be the beneficiary of your consultancy. Number 2, you can contact your solicitor and make sure that you do have a will, a trust, a testamentary instrument. So if you don't have a will, here's a tip. If you don't have a will, really important that you go and speak to a solicitor and actually have a will. First port of call in actually succession of your business is making sure that you actually have a will. But make sure that you've got alternatives to the beneficiaries that you maybe propose to receive your consultant in the event that something happens to you. Number 3, if you've already got a will, amend or establish or amend your existing will to include specific provision. So specific provision for your own succession arrangement. So basically, if you've got a will, make sure you have an inclusion in your will that mentions specifically your Arbonne consultancy and who it's actually going to go to. And lastly, review your estate plan regularly. So review your own circumstances, that of your family, not only for Arbonne reasons, but for your broader financial reasons. Make sure you actually review it regularly. So estate planning is obviously a very complicated area. I am not an estate planning solicitor or a specialist. So again, we encourage every single person to go and seek independent advice that's specific to themselves. Okay, we're coming to a close. So what to do? This is, I suppose, where I encourage every single one of you. You've heard me say 5 or 6 times, seek independent advice specific to your own circumstances, but ask questions. One of the great things about Arbonne, in my view, is that we have an enormous melting pot of people from very, very broad and diverse backgrounds. So we do have financial planners, we've got accountants, we've got solicitors, we've got teachers, we've got educators, we've got a dearth of knowledge. There's people around for you to actually dig and ask questions for. And it is also important that every single one of you surround yourself with good people, good professionals. Go and see a financial planner, an accountant, a solicitor about these things. Again, if you're thinking, why do I need to do that? You're probably not treating this as the business that it deserves, or giving it the respect that it deserves. So ask questions. As your business and your income from Arbonne grows, many financial and lifestyle decisions and responsibilities and opportunities will arise that will require some consideration. Remember always that this is your business. It's not Arbonne's business. It's your business. You're an independent consultant and you are responsible for asking questions specific to your own circumstances. So seek out advice. If you can practice financial responsibility and awareness from day one, I promise you, you can build the most professional, the most savvy, the most responsible, and the most sustainable Arbonne business, or any business that people might have. So thoroughly encourage everyone to ask plenty of questions. The last point, which is again me reiterating exactly what I've said a number of times, is seek advice. So given the potential complexity of financial responsibilities noted in my presentation, it's encouraged that you seek professional advice specific to your circumstance. That's a financial advisor, that's an accountant, that's a bookkeeper, that's a solicitor, whatever it is specific to your circumstances. My disclaimer, as I said right at the start, it is really important that you understand that I am a financial advisor. I am a licensed financial advisor, but for that reason, it's critical that you understand that tonight's not a solicitation of you or promotion of my financial planning business, and it's definitely not me giving you advice. You need to go and seek that from somewhere else. Last disclaimer is Arbonne's disclaimer, which says that the income's not guaranteed. We all know that, hopefully. So that brings us to the end. The only thing I would, I suppose, close on, if I can, is there's a flash buy on tonight. So hopefully everyone saw the emails today around flash buy. If we can all make sure that we jump online. Obviously, we're in huge momentum. March is cranking along. Jump on. Don't miss the opportunity on St. Patrick's Day to take advantage of that flash buy. So hopefully I haven't put people to sleep tonight. You've gathered something from that. Again, ask plenty of questions. Get off the call tonight. Go and sort out some of your own financial responsibilities. And I look forward to seeing everyone in Arbonne land and around over the course of the coming months and years. And good luck to everyone on your journey through to sort of RVP, NVP and beyond. So take care. Good night. And I'll see you all soon. Bye.